Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is the first video for the month of July, and I think what I'm going to do is the first video of each month, I'm going to give you an update for where my goals are. The problem is if I update you every video, then you're just going to see numbers go up and down as different things clear from different accounts, and it's not going to flow very well. So I think once a month is good. That gives my bills and debts time to settle, along with my investments to take hold and transfer into the accounts they need to transfer into, so I can give you an updated number. So for those of you who don't know, I started this channel with the intent of vlogging my climb from my net worth, which was about 375, 373, something like that. And I want to be worth $500,000 by the end of next year. Most of my holdings are in real estate and investment stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of catalog what I was doing as I climbed through and managed to reach that goal. So this is the update for it. My current net worth as of the 1st of January 2020 is $389,000. That's a plus of $16,000 from last month. Now that was accomplished through some luck and some skill. The luck being that the coronavirus mark on the economy had a chance to recover, so a lot of my investment accounts are worth more than they were before. Another thing is that I've been paying down debt, and a lot of my bills are in real estate holdings. So when I pay my mortgage each month, yes, that's money out of my checking account. However, that's going into my mortgage, which is actually providing me with equity in that account. So it doesn't break even, of course, but about half of my mortgage payment goes into me having more equity. Additionally, that property values went up this month, so I also made some money there. I should not have this big of an increase at all each month. It should be much lower. If it is, that's spectacular, but it won't be, so don't get used to that big of an increase. So now to today's topic. I want to talk about credit reports, and not credit scores, strictly credit reports. This is a class I used to give when I was with Navy, and I thought I would share some information I've learned with you. So when I was in the Navy, I could not preach to use Credit Karma. The military had their own system of the way they want you to teach things, and you couldn't push personal things. I guess the fear was that if I was getting kickbacks from Credit Karma, Mint, or even what I actually do with this channel, where I put my Acorn and Robinhood into the description so we can both get free stuff, they don't want you pushing that onto people. So you can only push certain things. So they didn't like Credit Karma. But what we would teach is annualcreditreport.com. Okay, so what is a credit report? A credit report is a document that's held by one of the three different credit reporting agencies. You have Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Now, when you pull your credit report, all three companies should roughly have the same information about you in there, but they can vary slightly. For example, my latest mortgage, they only requested the credit report from Equifax. So Equifax has an additional hard inquiry attached to it that TransUnion and Experian do not have. It just depends on your banking organization or your credit lender, whatever company they have a contract with to request from. Okay, so one thing to note about checking your credit report: you do not receive a credit score with it. Credit scores are kind of derived, you can get them from your bank. There's a lot of different algorithms they go to, but annualcreditreport.com, which is the website we kind of push people to use, does not provide a credit score. That's okay though, because if you have fairly decent credit, credit scores should be fairly easy to predict. Also, keep in mind that every time you have somebody inquire about your credit, like whenever you apply for a loan or anything like that, they generate a credit score on you, and you can always find out what it is. But if neither of those two seem convenient, because they're not really all that convenient, I use Credit Karma. Credit Karma isn't the exact algorithm, but it's pretty close. It'll only be off by a very small amount. As I mentioned, annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com is a free website with an asterisk. It's free as long as you only request one credit report a year. However, with one credit report a year, you can get one from each of the three reporting agencies, which means you can get a free credit report every 4 months. You just have to make sure you request TransUnion 1 month and then wait 4 months, Equifax, and then wait 4 months, and then Experian. And that's how we used to do it in the Navy, because this was before Credit Karma, and it was a good system. Mostly the reason I check to make sure I know what all the accounts are is because I'm worried that somebody's going to try to steal my identity. Now, you would think that if somebody steals your identity, you would find out about it. Your credit card company will call you and be like, hey, you owe us money or whatever. But a lot of times they don't put your actual address, they don't put your actual phone number, because they don't want you to find out about it until it's way too late. So, for example, if they take out a line of credit in your name that's $40,000, they don't want you to even know that existed until that line of credit is completely maxed out and their usefulness is depleted. So I always make sure that every account on there is something I know about, something I made sure I did. The second thing I check for is any type of derogatory marks. Normally, banks are getting really good about sending text messages, sending emails, sending letters, even push notifications on app if you miss anything. But it's always a good idea to check, because sometimes you'll find a negative, a derogatory mark that happened years ago. And sometimes you can fight it. I've had 50% luck. I had 2 derogatory marks on my credit report throughout my life. I managed to get one removed, and the other one I just had to wait it out. Luckily, it was a late payment, not a delinquency, so it took 2 years to fall off. So I guess that's not awful, but just keep an eye on that. Okay, so there's a few things you should know about how your credit report works. One, not all things are weighed the same. For example, one of the things they look at is the average length of your credit history. Well, that's not important, or not as important as derogatory marks on your credit report. Another very important one is payment history. They want to make sure you're consistently paying your bills, because obviously why would they want to lend to you if you're not consistently paying your bills? It's a bad investment for them. And yes, they can hit you with late fees and stuff, but their logic is they won't even be able to get late fees out of you. So they either won't lend to you at all, or they'll do it at a considerable higher interest rate in order to make up for the risk that they're taking on you. The other really high thing that they count on the credit report is credit utilization. So let's say you have a $500 credit card and you have $499 on it, then they're going to consider all of your credit used up, your entire credit line. That's actually worse than you having a $10,000 credit limit and you having $5,000 on it, because then only 50% of your credit is utilized. So even though you owe more, you would actually have a better credit score, if all other things are created equal, than the person that has a maxed out $500 card. The reason being is actually kind of makes sense. The banks or the creditors look at it as, why are you maxed out on your credit and now applying for more credit? So I guess in their eyes it shows more discipline if you have a $10,000 card but you only have half of it used, than if you have a $500 card and you have it all used. It's sort of like, oh, well, this one person's irresponsible, they're maxing out their credit card, when this other person, obviously they have restraint because they've only used 50% of their credit utilization. The number for how much utilization you should have, I think, is somewhere between like 10 and 20%. The other things that go into your credit report that don't matter quite as much, or at least aren't weighed the same, are your length of credit. They like to see you having long credit, like long history of open credit lines. So like my mom, trying to get me right for credit, got me a credit card at 18. Huge mistake. That did not work out the way we wanted to, although I did fix it eventually, but that was a mistake. But if you have kids that turn 18, it would be a great way to get them a jump start on building their credit if they have the discipline to do it. Another thing is total accounts. Credit Karma says they like to see 21 or more accounts. I do not have 21 accounts. And this is, by the way, total accounts, not currently active. I have 19. The problem is I don't want to open up another account, because then it'll drop my average age of my account. And I'd never gone into this, but I got divorced about 6-7 years ago. So a lot of my credit restarted then. So I'm just finally getting to the age, or the credit's getting to the age where it's starting to get really good, and I don't want to open up a new account and put that all back. And finally, one of the last things that goes in there is hard inquiries. That's when you have somebody request your credit. They have to usually ask you to do this. This is if you're applying for any type of loan, credit card, stuff like that, unless you're pre-approved for a credit card, in which case they already know your credit score, and you do not need them to ping your credit. So with me, with credit card offers, I always just wait until I'm pre-approved for something good. As a final thought, credit reports are incredibly important, and it really frustrates me on how little people actually know about them. The thing is that some people just don't care enough to remember to check their credit report. You should do it probably at least. I mean, you get a free one every 4 months, so at least do it then. If not, nothing else, use one of the apps or something. Even banks are starting to tell you what your credit score is, but a lot of people don't care about it, and even more people don't understand how they work. A quick side story is my fiance was looking at her credit, and they said she only had like 7 accounts. So I'm like, well, get a credit card. So she did, and it helped that one category, but it also impacted the other category for her average length of her accounts. So you definitely have to plan out and pay attention to your credit report. It's something that you never really care about it until you need it for something. And one day your car is going to break down, or you're going to want to buy a home, and you're going to need a good credit report. And unfortunately, the time to have worked on it was years ago. So if anybody's watching this, please check your credit report. Credit Karma is super easy, but also if you don't want to do that for a reason, annualcreditreport.com is free. It's what the actual military teaches all their service members. But please check it somehow and just make sure you're good, because it really sucks when you're married, you have kids on the way, you're like, hey, let me buy that house, and then you check out and find out your credit is like 550. Wait, this video is running super long. I'm hoping to edit it way down because this is ridiculous. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. If you liked it, give me a like or a thumbs up, a subscribe, or whatever. Leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer them as best I can when I have time. And thanks for watching, and keep saving.